Hi there. Today we're going to review the Sendmarc tools feature. You can find our tools at tools.sendmarc.com. They're not hidden behind any login or paywall. Publicly available and free for you to utilize. So when you go to tools.sendmarc.com, the first thing that's going to jump out at you is our Know Your Score feature. This is utilized to gain a high level understanding of how things are configured on a given domain. So let's have a look at our Sendmarc Labs domain, which we sometimes use for testing and for training. And you can see immediately, a bunch of really important information is shown to us. So firstly, the domain itself is given an overall score. You can see that that's 40. The domain is considered high risk. And going into a bit more depth, we can see from an impersonation perspective, there are already some issues. We're scoring at 2 out of 5. We can see that there's a red highlight here over DMARC, telling us that there's an issue with DMARC, ready on the face of it, as well as, low scores for privacy and branding. Now, this is obviously not enough detail to get into some nitty-gritty and get into some troubleshooting. So, the detailed report is really going to give us one layer down in terms of information. So firstly, from an impersonation rating, we can see that that's the impersonation rating is really based on 3 metrics, as you would expect, DMARC, SBF, and DKIM evaluations. TLS, RPT, or NTA and MTA SES make up the component parts of privacy, and BIMI makes up the the chief mechanism by which we measure the branding rating. And we're also looking at a number of common records, the NS, MX, and A records. Very, very useful, as they are, really important when considering the implementation of DMARC. So the NS records is really going to tell us where we need to go do make changes at the DNS level. MX records obviously telling us whether or not there's an everyday sender in place, and in this case there's Exchange, there's the 365 environment, so we already know, okay, from a DMARC perspective we're going to have to go and configure 365, and an A record would tell us whether or not there's a website. Often useful information, considering that websites often contain contact us forms, which generally speaking will generate emails. So very, very useful information just on the face of it. Now you'll notice next to many of the evaluations here, there's this analyze button. What this analyze button is going to do is actually going to take us to the domain analysis section. From a DKIM perspective, as I mentioned, we've got known selectors and a selector library that we'll use to resolve to see whether or not there's any resolution against a given domain. But of course, you may want to go and have a look whether or not a particular selector is in place. Let's say, for example, we were using K1, which I believe is SendGrid. In this particular case, there is no SendGrid selector in use on 365, so we're not going to see any positive results out of the sendmarc-labs.com domain DKIM lookup. And then lastly, certain older, in particular, platforms require that you bring your own private key. This private key generator will help you with the generation of that private key, for your use in your platform. That's it for now. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.